Shalom everyone, and we are studying today Parashat Toldot. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 25, verse 19, and that's the beginning of Parashat Toldot. You have to remember, the 5 books of Moses are divided into 53 parashot, portions. This division is ancient from the beginning, from Mount Sinai Revelation. Okay, and so every week, one parasha is being studied, and on Shabbat morning, that parasha is being read in every synagogue around the world. However, there's another division to chapters. This division was made many years later, and it doesn't correlate always to the parashot. So that's why it looks like we're starting a parasha in the middle of a chapter. So this division was made by the church, so has nothing to do with Jewish tradition. Ve'ele Toldot Yitzchak, and these are the generations of Yitzchak. Okay, that reminds us that we have another Ve'ele Toldot, Noach. Same thing about the generations of Noach. But here, we're talking about Yitzchak ben Avraham, Isaac, the son of Avraham, and then it says, Avraham holedet Yitzchak. And this is totally different than the story of Noach. Totally different language. So what is the story over here? That we are not really, and that's, I want everybody to understand clearly. A lot of people, when they read the book of Genesis, it's like they think they're reading a story. They're thinking this is a story, kind of a TV series of the generations of a family. And here, like, if you read it, it's like dysfunctional family, because you have things in this parasha that you don't do, and still people have an opinion. I like it, I don't like it. This is not a story of a family. We have to remember that the book of Genesis is giving us the build-up of the major layers of a human consciousness. It seems like it is a story of Jewish history or human history. But this is the build-up of the human mind with one focal point, which is, how do humanity manage to create the tikkun process? The tikkun process is the process that needed to be, that started with the creation of Adam. And the tikkun started with Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. They were starting the tikkun process in a way that has nothing to do almost with our tikkun process, but they had the tikkun process because we learn over there they were put in the Garden of Eden, which is, if you read the story, this is nothing that we understand. Remember, the Garden of Eden, you had 2 trees only, the tree of knowledge and the tree of life. We don't have physical trees like this in our reality. That's one thing. The other thing is, you don't have talking snakes in our reality. Okay? And we don't have death in the Garden of Eden. Death came up, and death is part of our reality. And how do we correct that aspect of death? This is the basics of the story of the book of Genesis. And that's why when you read the Zohar about the previous parashot and these coming parashot, there are many articles in the Zohar, whoever noticed, talking about the resurrection. And what's the resurrection? The resurrection is that point of human story in which humanity learns to reverse the story of death. Okay? What is the story of death? The story of death started with the sin of Adam. It says, on the day you will eat from the tree of knowledge, you will surely die. And I spoke about it many times. Adam lived till the age of 930. What does it mean? On the day you will eat from that tree, you will surely die. And the Zohar explains, it's not that a person dies on, when the doctor issues a death certificate. Every time, the Zohar says, we get insulted, we get upset, we are scared, we hate, we get angry, we die a little bit because this moment of a negative emotion, that we let that emotion take over, this is a small death. And death is accumulative. And we know today that when people are being exposed to all kinds of upsetting environment and ideas, we cannot evade that. You can't. It's like human life is about discomfort. It doesn't matter how perfect your life could be created by your parents or yourself, you will have moments of discomfort. The question is, how do we react to that discomfort? How do we manage that moment of little death? What does it mean, death? The moment we allow the discomfort, the rage, the anger, the fear, the upset to take over, we are disconnected from the power of life. And that means, the Zohar says, explains to us, that means that we allow death to take over. And the whole story of the book of Genesis is to teach us, how does humanity learn to fight the consciousness of death? When all of humanity realizes that this is coming from within, it's not something you can impose on the outside. You cannot create a school system in which the students will never have to go through a moment of discomfort. You can't. People are trying. You're not allowed to discipline your children. That you're not allowed to bring discomfort, which means if there is a sport event, everybody gets the first prize. Why? You don't want to cause frustration. Would that give you a generation of happy people? And the understanding is no. Happy people who are really connected to life, this can be generated only when we realize death, when we realize that death is visiting us, we realize it's the enemy, and we transform the negativity into positivity. When we take the tree of knowledge, evil, and we turn it into the tree of life. And this is our calling. This is the tikkun process. So when we learn about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, when we learn about Abraham and Sarah, we learn about how do we build inside us that state of mind of chesed, loving kindness and sharing and giving, because this is a most important foundation, pillar of a healthy human mind. You need to train yourself that giving no matter what, loving no matter what, caring no matter what, this is a pillar of reality that without it you cannot achieve immortality. Immortality is not that you live 1,000 years. Immortality is that one day passes by and you didn't let anything to kill you, to aggravate you till basically you wish yourself to die. This is immortality. This is what we're talking about, that the Torah is a tree of life for the ones holding on to it. And so, if I really want to achieve life that is full of bliss, happiness, and health and well-being, I must learn to establish within myself that pillar that is called chesed. We learn that by the stories of Abraham and Sarah. We learn that by emulating their behavior, but it's not about, we're not talking about Abraham and Sarah as individuals. We are talking about them as people that transmit to us that pillar of awakeness or reality, that if you adopt it, you are already one step ahead. So when that part is over, then we're coming to the part of, chesed, loving, giving. You can't just do that. You need also discipline. You need also judgment. You build a business. And how do you start a business? You have to start with the right foot. And what does it mean? It means that you have to start with Abram, which is the right column, chesed, which means what is the value? Establishing a business, what's the value that I want to give to people? If you don't start with that, you're just starting, I want to make money, it doesn't matter how, that's called theft. You want just to extort people's money. That's not starting with the right foot. Starting with the right foot is first and for all, what is my calling? Giving some value to others. This is Abraham and Sarah. This is chesed. This is a pillar that without it you cannot overcome death. And death is any moment of aggravation that takes over me and takes away the taste of life. Same thing with judgment. Isaac is judgment. But the word judgment is wrong in English because the word in Hebrew is gevura. The same way you don't have a word in English for chesed. Abraham and Sarah is chesed. And chesed is all of what we just mentioned. Giving, loving, kindness, sharing, caring, whatever. In one word, chesed. Gvura, again, gvura means discipline. Gvura means overcoming. Gvura means being superpowers. Gvura means judgment. All of it in one word. This is gvura, this is Isaac and Rivka. Yitzchak and Rivka. So now the chesed is completed. And the chesed also, we read in the previous parashot, that chesed must also know how to take in a little bit of gevura. You can't, if you really love your child, says Rabbi Ashlag, and your child, you have a little kid, and he comes to you, and you're holding this very, very sharp little scissors. And he says, Dad, I have this itch in my eye. Give me the scissors. I want to scratch. And you say, no, I can't give it to you. I hate you. You're not a loving father. You don't give me what I want. Do you get it? Sometimes when you love someone, saying no is the best thing. But that's judgment. That's not chesed. Yes, a complete chesed should have also discipline and boundaries in it. Otherwise, it's not really chesed. It's a fake chesed. Love, unconditional love. No boundaries. Someone comes to you and says, oh, I see you have a nice watch. Why won't you give it to me? Okay, so you give it to him because chesed, you should give. Okay, is that the way the world can exist? When people realize whatever they have, someone will just take away? No, chesed is you have, and you have no way to know, but you have daily opportunities to give, and you have to figure out yourself how much you give, how do you give, and how much you take for it. Okay, that's called a healthy, viable business. If you just give, you go bankrupt. If you just take, you're just a cheat, you're a liar. Somebody's going to find out, and you're destroying your branding. So you have to know how to balance between the chesed and the gevura. And that's the story of Isaac. and Rivka. So when we are talking about Isaac as a child, the son of Abraham, is to realize when you have Gevurah that is coming from Chesed, from Abraham, Isaac has to come from Abraham. When you say no, but you say it with kindness, you say it because you care, because you see a bigger picture. You just get out of this, if I'm going to say no, would they love me? Maybe they won't like me anymore. I have to be, I have to just give them whatever they want. But then you become depleted. Then people start to use you, and then you lose it. So you have to know where to put the limits. And there's no one equation. This is something that you exercise all your life to balance between the chesed and the gevurah. And that's basically what we're learning over here. So we have Abraham and Sarah, chesed. Yitzchak and Rivka, this is gevurah. And here we have the birth of another power in this parasha. And that's the birth of Jacob and Esau. So we'll come to it soon. But first of all, being gevurah means also realizing that you cannot just give everything you've got because you have nothing left to give anymore if you just give everything you've got. So you have the gevurah is also about learning to manage how much you take and how do you make the taking honorable. Which means some people, they do a job and they are shy of asking for money because it's not something healthy. We all know that. If you don't really have the gevurah of saying, I'm worthy of that, I need to take it, and I'm taking that because I need to live. I cannot give the service unless I'm getting rewarded properly, because I cannot run the business unless I say exactly how much I need. Okay, that's gevurah also. Okay, you need to learn how to take, but you have to understand that taking is not a shame when you balance it with the chesed, with the giving. So, being a successful professional, being a successful business, you need to balance always between the two. Now, the force that balances the two, that's Jacob, and therefore we have the story of the birth of Jacob over here, because you can't just juggle between the chesed and gevurah. You need also to create a place of balance in which you really can move on, because that's the definition of success, when you know how to balance between the chesed and the gevurah. So, but we have one very important issue over here. Yitzchak ben 40 shana. So we are in chapter 25 in Genesis, verse 20. Yitzchak ben 40 shana, and Isaac is 40 years old when he's marrying Rivka. And 21. ויתר יצחק לאדוני לנוכח אשתו, כי יקרה היא. ויעתר לו אדוני ותער רבקה אשתו. And Isaac prays to God. I'm translating literally, in front of his wife, because she is barren. And God answers his wish, and Rivka becomes pregnant. How old was she when she became pregnant? We realize over here that she was 23, which means they were married for 20 years till she got pregnant. So let's say in the first year she didn't get pregnant because, what can we say, she was young. But later on we have quite a number of years that she was not able to get pregnant. So what is this story about Sarah being pregnant, Rivka being pregnant, barren, childless. We have also that story Rachel, and part of it also with Leah that was not that easy. Why is it that people righteous as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, like Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, they had such a problem getting pregnant, while so many people are not righteous, clearly not, and they get pregnant even they don't want to be pregnant. And then they want just to get rid of that pregnancy. Like, where is justice? And we have a very important point over here that will give us kind of an introduction to the rest of the parasha. The fact that we don't get just what we want immediately, it's not a punishment. It is more a build-up. You want to have a child like Isaac, you can't have that for free and easily. No pain, no gain. You want like a child like Jacob? That doesn't come easily. All of what we are talking about is that if you want to get something big, it doesn't matter if not just a child, but anything big, you must be in a position that you feel the lack, you feel the need to pray. Prayer is one of the most powerful tools we have to connect with the divine. The legend says that the biggest curse that was ever given was the curse that God gave to the snake in Parashat Bereshit. What does it say? It says that the curse for the snake was, you will crawl on the earth and you will eat soil. Why is that a curse? The curse is that the commentators explained to us, soil is available everywhere, which means God is cursing the snake, and we're not talking, by the way, about the reptile we know today as a snake. We are talking about that power that is called a snake. What's the biggest curse? That whatever you want, you get it immediately. Soil, you don't have to look for soil. It's everywhere. Which means God is telling the snake, your curse will be that whatever you want to be fed, you'll find it. You don't need me for that. Don't come to me. Don't pray to me. Don't ask for me. And we know there's something very important about growth. The necessity is the mother of all invention. If you don't have a necessity, you'll never get out of the box. That's an invention. You'll never get out of the box. You'll always be buried in the same old you. There's no curse worse than telling somebody, I wish that you always stay the same. Some people come to you with this blessing, and it's like, what have I done to you? It's like, why are you cursing me? Like the snake. The snake is about selfishness. And selfishness is about selfish desires are very confining, very limited, which means being selfish, and more than that, non-spiritual, because spiritual people, what makes a person spiritual is when a person realizes that selfishness is the biggest curse that could ever be given to anyone. Because we came here to this world for one purpose only, to be enlightened, to connect to the endless light force of the creation that emanates always endlessly from the Creator. This is a very important thing to understand, because if you really want enlightenment, you really want to be fulfilled with the source of all that is good, with the light, with the spiritual light, and you really understand that the spiritual light is emanating only from the endless, which is the Creator, the one Creator, the God, the Lord of Abraham, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. which is the creator of the heavens and the earth. When you want to connect to that, there is one logical thing. You cannot connect to the endless light if you don't desire it. But there's a catch. Desiring the endless light is a finite thing. Why? When I want something selfishly, I just want it because I desire it. I'm designed to desire. We are creatures of desires. A human being that does not desire anything is not really a living human being. You're not really alive if you don't desire. What's the problem? That when you desire, it doesn't matter how big you desire, it's always finite because you're human. So you want love. You don't want usually the love of all of humanity. You want love for one person, two people, a family, a community. It's very limited. You want wealth. How much wealth do you want? All the wealth existing in the world, that's finite. You want wisdom? Oh, that's even bigger. So you want wisdom from all the people. Still, it's not the infinite light of the Creator. So when our desires are finite, can finite and infinite go together? The law of affinity says that similarities attract. But the moment that our desires are finite, that what makes it finite is when we want it for ourselves. Which means we want it, we got it, end of story. That's finite. And that means there's a logical problem with that. Can the infinite connect to the finite? No. So that's why the sages are saying, Reshaim bechayehem nikraim metim. Selfish people, they are dead while still being alive. Why? Because when you are selfish, the word rasha is translated usually as a wicked person, but in Kabbalistic Hebrew, rasha is ratzon shel atzmo, initials, selfish desires. When you have a selfish desire, you are basically away from the Creator. And that means that you're dead. So having a spiritual awareness is, first of all, realizing that being stuck in our own selfish desires, it's death. It's a death sentence before you've been standing even before a judge. Because you're just disconnected from the grid of the tree of life. How do you redeem yourself from that? How do you get out of that sentence, that cell, the box? When you learn the magic of chesed. I want my life to be great, but I want others to have greatness also. So when I turn my desire, ratzon, will, into tzinor, in Hebrew is the same letters, but tzinor means a pipe. A pipe, what does it mean? There's opening in the beginning, there's opening in the end. Whatever I desire, I make sure others enjoy that too. A pipe has an endless capacity, theoretically. Which means when I'm not the end of the flow, it's not just for me. I'm removing that finite place, finite consciousness by, if I want to be happy, I have to make other people happy too. That's the main idea of spiritual awareness. And that means I must have chesed and I must have gevura. I must learn how to give and I must learn how to take. I must learn how to work it out together if I want to stay out of the death zone. People are selfish and they come in with entitlement or, I want my life to be great and I'm just going to do anything possible to take as much from the universe in order to have that what I want. And that's a big mistake. If you want to receive, you need also to learn how to give. We learned about it in previous Parashat Chayei Sarah. Now, that means that we need to learn how to Um, Basically, every desire we reveal inside us, we need how to fine-tune that desire so it has the proper giving with the proper receiving so it doesn't kill us. The moment we have certain desires and they create frustration, upset, negativity, disappointment, blame, shame, it means that we are doing something wrong with that desire. It doesn't mean that the desire is wrong. Basically, every desire is about being happy. Every desire is about fulfillment. We were created for that purpose. So why does it, in some religions, you have to create detachment. Stop desiring. You don't want money, it's bad. You don't want success, it's bad. You're just a service. You're denying human existence. Sooner or later, it's going to explode. Because you're just saying, I don't desire, I'm detaching. I'm just here, I'm just a plant. You're not, you're a human being. And you were created to desire, but you created to turn that desire from a desire to receive for the self alone to the desire to receive for the sake of sharing and giving. From only the judgment to chesed. And that's the story. So here you have, a desire to have a child, a desire to have a successful business. It's a desire basically to have toldot, continuity, results, manifestation, that you're not stuck in a box. For that, you need to fine-tune yourself. It can take years and years. We want a quick fix. Same way people want to be in shape physically. And you know what to do. You go to the gym, you pay membership, and you have to go every day, and you have to follow a certain program in order to really transform your body to be in shape. Correct? So when you're talking about getting your soul in shape, which is really achieving the goals, you can get in shape, and that will be amazing, and it's great, and it's important to be healthy. But if you're taking care only the shape of the body, I know so many people who were like such a great shape physically, but their mind, they have no idea how much death they accumulate daily because they hate and they react and they are angry and they're vengeful, and that kills them early. Being in shape physically doesn't mean you're going to live a great life. You have to remember that. So you have to invest in your spiritual shape. And spiritual shape means, first of all, being spiritual, that you agree you're not here to die. You're here to overcome death. How do you overcome death? You overcome selfishness. Selfishness equals death. So how do you do that? It's a workout. Same way it takes a long time to get in shape physically, it takes a long time to get in shape spiritually. You have to exercise day by day, week by week, year by year. It's a never-ending story. So when we hear that Isaac is praying, begging, imploring, why? He's such a righteous man. He basically gave himself to die. He was willing to, let his father slaughter him and sacrifice him. Why does he deserve that? And we have this question a lot. And the answer is very simple. If you don't have yearning, desire, and a feeling of lack, you never grow. So a prayer that does not come from a real, genuine lack is not a real prayer. And a prayer is basically one of the main conduits to connect to the Creator. And Rabbi Ashlag, the founder of the modern Kabbalah movement, is saying you pray to God. and you pray daily, 3 times a day, more than three times a day, for something, and years pass by, you didn't get that something. Does that mean you wasted your time? No. First of all, what is that we really want? We really want the connection to illumination, to the enlightenment. Every time you prayed, you got closer to God. Your wish was already granted. You think that what you prayed for is this, A, B, C, D. These are means. They're not the goal. The goal is the connection to the endless light of the Creator. When you realize that, you realize the power of prayer is not just, I want this and this and this and this. Through the prayer, hopefully, you learn how to become that person who is connected to the tree of life and has a light coming through them and achieving the real fulfillment. Having money, health, children, family, whatever that people pray for, security, that necessarily gives you peace of mind. Not always. Many times it doesn't. The peace of mind is a result from your own ability to connect eternally to the light of the Creator. This is the tikkun. This is the correction. Learning how to do that. So, we're going back into verse 21. When Yitzchak Avinu is imploring to God, what is he doing? He's basically bringing here, making the path for us to learn what does it mean to really pray, to really implore. Because as again, a lot of people don't want to bother God. Like he's very busy, can't bother him. No, he created us so we take his light. He created us as creatures of desire so we get his light. How do we get his light? That's the whole thing. If you just get the light because you want it and you want it now, the quick fix, you kill yourself. Why? That's how the universe is structured. So when we're talking about that, prayers we're talking about, I would just want to go to the Zohar, verse 19, Zohar Sulam, פירוש הסולם on זוהר פרשת תולדות. פתח רבי יהודה ותרי ואמר, ויעתר יצחק לאדוני לנוכח אשתו. So that's the verse we just read, verse 21 in chapter 25 in Genesis. מהו ויעתר? What does it mean he implored? דקרב לי קורבנה, וצא לי עלה, ומה קורבנה קרב, עולה קרב. דכתיב ויעתר לו השם. כתיב אחא ויעתר לו השם, וכתיב התם ויעתר אלוהים לארץ. וגומר מה להלן קורבן, אף קורבן, כתיב ויעתר יצחק, וכתיב ויעתר לו, דנפק אישה מלעילה לקיבלה אישה לטאטא. So first of all, what is that prayer that he prayed? That he brought an offering and he prayed over that offering. What kind of offering did he offer? And it says korban olah. It's an offering that goes up to God, which means what is olah? Olah means rising up, ascending, going upwards. When we want to connect to the Creator, we need to bring an offering. Today, the prayer is the offering. But what is that offering? That when we allow our consciousness, our mind, to ascend to the Creator. How do we do that? It's a training through meditation, through studying of spiritual texts like the Zohar, like the Torah. When we do that, that's bringing an offering. It's an offering. What does it mean? We are elevating ourselves. We are not really trying to convince God to change his mind about us. He's endless. He cannot change the infinite. It's only changing ourselves. only elevating our own state of mind. And then it says, and then Rabbi Ashlag adds a commentary that says that in order for the fire to come from above, you need to generate a fire from below. What's a fire? From below. When we pray with excitement, that's fire. Because how do you say excitement in Hebrew? Hitlahavut. The word hitlahavut, excitement, is coming from the word lahav, flame. So when we get excited, we get ourselves on the fire of excitement of connecting to the above, then the fire from the above comes down, and that fire gets us a higher excitement, the spiritual excitement, the epiphany of being in an experience of connecting to something beyond. Okay, you need to start it from below in order to have it from above. And what does it mean? So the Zohar explains in another place, in Parashat Kitetsei. So when you turn yourself into wood and you set yourself as an offering, and the excitement, you feel the fire in your bones, in your flesh, which means you're not falling into the physical needs of food or sex or money or honor, respect, warmth. You're just on excitement of connecting to the above. That's when you get yourself to become the wood of the fireplace, of the altar. And then the fire of above, the holiness, will come and dwell over the fire that you generate. But let's have a deeper meaning, more than that. Verse 20 in the Zohar Sulam. דבר אחר, ויתר יצחק דצה לצלותי וחתך חתירה לעילה לגבי מזלה על בנין. דאבהו אתר תליין בנין דכתיב ותתפלל על השם, וכתין ויתר לו השם התקרא ויתר לו עליו ויחתר לו. חתירה חתר לקודשה בריחו. וקבל לי וכדין ותר רבקה אשתו. Another meaning to the same thing, they just to complete the first one. When Isaac prayed for a child, he made kind of a tunnel to the force above that brings children to the world. And that's called the mazala. It's not the children, it's everything we really need. Life, children, sustenance, it's all coming from that place. That place that feeds reality with sustenance. כי במקום ההוא היינו במזל שפירושו דיקנה דאריך אנפין. That's this place. When you reach that place, you can create the flow of bliss and eternal life to your own life. So where it says, ויתר יצחק לאדוני לנוכח אשתו, and the word nochach is a very important word. Nochach means in front of, but there's a secret in it. We said that place that really good fortune comes from is called mazala. Mazala has the numerical value of 78. 78 is a magical number because 78 is 3 times the tetragrammaton. Tetragrammaton, the 4 letters of the name of God, is the gematria, the numerical value of 26. 3 times, why 3? Right, left, and center. Chesed, Gevurah, and Tiferet. Together, that's 78. That's mazala. This is 78 is also lechem, bread, which bread is a symbol for sustenance. And you have in the book of Proverbs, chapter 4:25, It says, Einecha lenochach yabitu. Your eyes should look where? Nochach. In front of you. And the Zohar is asking, so where should they look? To the sides? Nochach. What's the big deal? The word nochach is mentioned here, lenochach hishto. Nochach is numerical value 78. Nochach is also initials nishmat kol chai, the soul of every living thing. Nochach appears every time we have a real magical transformation of the decree. Here the decree is that Rivka cannot have a child. Isaac prays all the way up to that place, 78, Mazala, Nochach. What is that magical place? This place is when you connect to the force that runs the show. What force? What really created the universe? What was the intention? So the Kabbalists explain, the Ramchal, Rabbi Moses Chaim Luzzatto, determines it's the most focused way. מחשבת הבריאה להיטיב לנבראים. The thought behind the prayer was that behind the creation was to give joy to the creatures. That's why we were created as creatures of desire. I can think about my desires all the time. And then I have all the time, as we said before, am I angry? Am I loving? Am I using chesed or gevura? Or am I using the synthesis between the two, which is Jacob, Tiferet? What am I using right now? If I'm busy with that, it's almost impossible to create the central column, the bliss, the flow. The Zohar is teaching us that the great secret is what we just learned. When I'm connecting to, first and for all, what was God's intention? That's a nochach. When I'm connecting to God's intention, which is unconditional love to every being, when I'm connecting to that place, I can have this quantum leap outside the box. Because if I'm going to be busy all the time, am I balanced or not? Am I balanced or not? Am I giving enough? Am I taking enough? Whatever. That's a nightmare. That's manic depressive. That's. It looks like always endless strife that you can never find a solution. But if you connect to God's will and you really try to be the representation of God's will on this physical earth, you will basically reach the transformation. When we go, I spoke about it in previous classes, in previous weeks. There was a terrible decree. The decree was in the time of Mordechai and Esther. We're talking about the end of the exile after the destruction of the first temple. Just before the building of the second temple. And there was a decree. There was darkness. The darkness was horrible. And the darkness brought a decree. And, the manifestation was Haman, and he made the king of the Persian Empire, Ahasuerus, to issue a decree to kill every Jew in the empire. 127 states from India all the way to Africa. Okay? All this huge empire. And what was the way, how was that dealt with? The Jews were crying. Mordechai, the leader, the great leader, he was sitting and crying with sackcloth at the gates of the king. And Esther, the Queen Esther, is sending for him and saying, like, what are you doing? And he's saying, there's a decree, we're all going to die. You should do something about it. You should go and talk to the king. And she says, I was not called to the king for 30 days already. If I'm going to the king, not invited, I could be death sentence. He says, but you have to do something. And she says something very important. I repeated that. Go gather all the Jews. Gather means get them united. Get them to create chesed. Get them to rise above the sorrow, the pain, the anguish. Let them do chesed with each other. And what do? They give food to each other, gifts to the poor, no donations, gifts to the poor. They go into a spree of love, caring to each other. 72 hours later, Esther is going to the king. And she's standing, and then the word appears again, nochach. Again, nochach, the same word, in front of the king. And then the king is giving her the scepter, which means the scepter is the light of chesed. And the whole story turns around. Haman is being executed. The Jews are allowed to protect their lives. And the Jewish story is being saved by miracle. What's the miracle? Nochach. How do you reach that place? No sustenance, no health, no life, no children. It looks like you came to a dead end. How do you reach that place? Nochach. Love. Chesed. And what does it say? Yitzchak prays for his wife, Rivka. He knows he's going to have a son. He has no idea if it's going to be Rivka. But he prays it's going to be Rivka. Rivka is praying for Yitzchak because she knows he needs to have a son. He thinks about her and prays for her. Rivka prays for Yitzchak. The chesed, the love, and they implore, which means they reach that place of really connecting to the love of God, to what God wants, not what we want. This is the highest level of chesed. The magic is over there. And it's all because of need. The result is Jacob and Esau. And Jacob and Esau are born, and again, we're not supposed to look at it as two children that fight with each other. One is a hunter and a murderer, and the other one is sitting in the tent and it's like he's a nerd. That's not a story. It's very simplistic. If we said that Abraham and Sarah and Isaac and Rivka are two aspects in our personality, the same is with Jacob and Esau. When you have judgment, Gevurah, Isaac and Rivka, what comes out of it? There are two kinds of judgment. One is that Esau, the might, the power, the physical body, and the needs of the physical body, honor, power, winning in wars, defeating the enemies, overcoming big areas, countries, controlling them with power, with a sword, with a rifle, with weapons, with money. That's Esau. This is an outcome of Gevurah. And there is Jacob. What is Jacob? That's a central column. That's a central column that means the balance. It was a central column. When you're on one hand, you have a huge desire to succeed. On the other hand, you know to turn it into loving and kindness without giving up your need, your desire, your calling to do great things. So there are two kinds of judgment. One is a central column, which is, yes, I want greatness. I want to have passion. But I overcome the passion selfishly and I transform it into being from a desire to a pipe, from ratzon to tzino. For that, you need a lot of discipline. You need a lot of self-control. That's called judgment. But this is a judgment that is internalized till you turn the biggest desire to success into one that does give you success and at the same time shares it with others without giving up, without detaching yourself from the desire for greatness. And that can be together, if you read it later on, when we read about Isaac, that he's planting. Let's go to chapter 26 in Genesis, verse 12. ויזרע יצחק בארץ ההיא וימצא בשניים 100 שערים. And Yitzchak is planting, and the yield, the crops, is 100 times what he planted. ויברכהו Hashem, and God blessed him. Which means you want to be a righteous person, you don't have to be a poor person. You have to be also the person who knows how to plant and get 100-fold. You'll see it later, all the same thing with Jacob. But but there's another story over here. It looks like, and I make it short over here, it looks like, because there's a terrible story, for if you read it as a story, that there's a dispute between Jacob and Esau. And Isaac loves Esau. And he wants to give him the blessing. And Rivka is inciting Jacob to steal the blessing, to cheat his father. His father is blind and old. And he comes to him, he dresses up with, he basically disguises himself as Esau. Why does he need to steal the blessing? Why does he need to take the birthright? And it's a long story over here, but it's very important for all of us. We are part. Yes, the story of Genesis is the beginning of the journey of humanity redeeming itself from death. But we are all part of this journey. This journey is happening right now as I speak to all of us. And in the journey we have Esav in each one of us. And what is Esav? Esav is the outcome of the judgment. And that's a human body. What is a body about? Whims, desires, passions. And as we said, you want it all, you want it now. And you know what? And Esav is tricky. Isaac thinks that Esav is okay, is not that bad. Why? And the Zohar is asking the same question. Why does Isaac wants to give Esav the blessing? There's a very powerful answer. If Esav represents the body consciousness, which means I want it my way, and I care about nothing, no values other than fulfilling my whims. I want it and I take it. I want to be stronger, I'll be stronger and I'll take it. If somebody stands in my way, I'll kill him. I'll enslave him. Okay, that's Esav. That's the desire within each one of us that comes from the body consciousness. A lot of people think, no, I don't have that. I will not kill for my, to get something. No, you want? Let's see. The Zohar in verse 76 is asking, איך לא היה יודע יצחק כל מעשיו הרעים של עשיו? How come Yitzchak did not know all the bad deeds of Esav. הרי השכינה הייתה עמו. He had the Shekhinah, he had the holy presence of the Holy Spirit. היה צריך לדע זאת ברוח הקודש, כי אם לא הייתה עמו השכינה, איך יכול לברך את יעקב בשעה שברכו? If he did not have the presence of the Holy Spirit, how could he bless Jacob? ומשיב אליו, ודאי השכינה הייתה שוכנת עמו בבית. Of course he had the holy presence with him. והייתה שוכנת עמו תמיד. Of course the Shekhinah was with him always. אבל השכינה לא הודיעה אותו כדי שיתברך יעקב שלא מדעתו. But the Shekhinah did not want Isaac to know. Why? To know that Esav is a murderer and a cheat. Remember again, Esav, we are all possessed by Esav. Esav is the bodily desires. And וכן צריך להיות. That's the way it should be. באה עמו השכינה, ואז ראה יצחק בשכלו שהוא ראוי להתברך. והוא שהתברך מדעת השכינה. פירוש, רבי אשלג's commentary. יעקב בחינת חסדים מכוסים וינוטה תמיד אל קו ימין. Jacob, central column. What is central column? It's a left column, but the chasadim, it's a judgment, but the chasadim overcome the judgments. So it's a mixture of both. That's the corrected soul. Esav, and vayanute tamid el kav yamin, and of course that the corrected soul will always lean to the right, which means to giving, kindness, caring. Esav nimshach kulo mikav small. Esav was totally from the left column. ראשו היה נמשך מקו שמאל דקדושה. His head was from the holy aspect of the left column. There was something good in there, but his body, which means there's nothing that is only negative, only evil. In everything that is evil, there's always something that has the ability to be converted and corrected. But the body of Esav, היה נמשך ממדרגות הטומאה, was totally impure. ולפיכך, אם היה יצחק יודע מעשים הרעים של עשיו, if Isaac knew how terrible Esav is and all the bad deeds he did, היה מבטלו לגמרי, he would disconnect him, disown him. והיה מברך את יעקב במקומו, he will bless only Jacob. What's wrong with that? נמצא בזה שהיה מקיים את הערת קו ימין בלבד, then Isaac will just establish only the light of חסד. לא כך היה רצונו של הקדוש ברוך הוא, but it was not the will of God. כל הערת השמאל שהייתה ראויה לעשיו, כי אז יהיה יעקב שלם מכל הצדים. Isaac knew that Esav is the left column. He knew that. He knew that the left column comes first. That's why Esav was the firstborn. When we look around in our world, who is in control? The body consciousness or the soul consciousness? Of course, the body consciousness. You go around and you see who are the people that run the economy, who runs the academy, who runs politics, who runs the biggest sources of power around the world. Selfish people. Why is it like this? Because the world has not reached its correction yet. We're still in the midst of the process. A lot of people want things easy. They want it now. We want peace now. We want a solution now. We want the right thing to be done right now. How do you call that? Esav. Little children, they want it now. They really think you want once and for all to finish the whole thing. We are being just taught by all of that story You cannot just have it now because you need to be part of the process. And wanting it now, that's called Esav. That is childish. What is child? A child is a person that Esav is in total control. I want it now. I don't care. I will lie. I will destroy if I need to, just to get it my way and now. I can't wait. So when we think that we want it now, justice, think about it. When there was a French Revolution, the people rose against injustice. They rose against robbing, against robbery. It was nothing. It was exploitation. The church was exploiting the French people. The royalty was exploiting the people. There was no justice. The people were not equal in front of the law. So people had this outrage of wanting it once and for all to be okay. And there was a revolution. And somehow, the revolution became like a molech, like an idol that you have to sacrifice people all the time. The hunger for heads, for lives was so hard, was so big. It started to consume more and more. It became a regime of death, slaughter. Was there justice in that? When we have that need, that desire, we want it and once and for all, and we feel so righteous about it. This is totally Esav. I want it comfortable, I want it perfect, and I want it now, no matter what the consequences will be. This is Esav. Esav is not about justice. Esav is about wanting it comfortable and right now. And when it comes from that place, it looks like I'm doing the right thing, but in the name of the right thing, you're willing to murder, go all against the goal does not justify the means. And when you find yourself that the means are justified, every means just to get the right goal, you're not with Jacob, you are with Esav. And that's why can't the world be peaceful and just right now? Because even the people that feel exploited, the moment you give them power, power corrupts. Why? You just want it comfortable for you. You don't really want justice because you became Jacob. You're just another aspect of Esav. You want it for yourself. And the moment you get the power, you see how many times in history people were depressed and suppressed and oppressed, and they become the oppressor themselves. It's so easy. Because to bring peace, shalom, you need to be Jacob. Isaac knew that story. He gave the blessing to Esau because he knew that Esau is the body. And Esau must be in control, so that will force us to implore, to pray, to exercise central column, balance, completion, self-control, transformation, connecting to God's real will with values that are above our needs and our immediate needs. And Jacob had to steal the birthright, because that's what Jacobs do till today. You cannot just say, I'm right. You cannot just come in the name of justice. You have to know that this world is not corrected yet. The snake is still in power. You always have to calculate your risks. You cannot just come just because I'm right. I can do whatever I want. You always have to understand that there are rules of right and wrong, of chesed and gvura, central column. You really have to know how to restrain your need for immediate justice. And it's never once and for all. And that takes a long time. The process of peace is long and takes a lot of hard effort. You cannot allow Esav to control, but Esav is in control always. Everything, what runs the show is the Esavs, is the desire, the power for strength. And if you really want to be a Jacob and to really achieve true success, you have to realize that the Esav is also in part of you. When we all take over that Esav within, it's how do we do that? While learning how to deal with the Esav outside. Being right does not give us the authority to take over and to create a revolution. The revolution starts within. When we realize there's no once and for all. When we realize that we can become an Esav just like this, because power corrupts. When we realize that it's a long process of hardship and prayers till we reach that place of being a Jacob, and think about it, how Jacob he cannot just take the blessing from Isaac. He has to pretend. Just being right does not give you the victory. You need to be smarter than that. You have to be wiser than that. And you know how many times you see people making mistakes, your boss, your leadership, and you simply have to be that Jacob that gets it right without taking the credit, without saying, let's say it right once and for all. The world is still in process. It's not Mashiach times yet. You create that Mashiach time when you create that humility and that self-control and that balance. And when you realize, when you connect to the desire of the Creator to share, you get anything you want. Even though there's so many around you that are selfish, that are wrong, whatever, you'll make it happen. It's very deep, but that's a very important message for all of us who are trying to create a revolution. And if you realize all of these people that created revolutions, because they're right, in the name of the good cause, usually it didn't come out right. So, because Esav within has to be dealt with first. Good luck to all of us and patience in that great journey to create world harmony and peace.